Hello lovely ones, how are you? How are you enjoying this heat? As my mother-in-law would say, oh, it's affy warm, it's affy warm. We are experiencing some beautiful weather here in Ireland right now. It is, I don't want to say unseasonably warm, but it is warmer than it would usually be this time of year. I'm not complaining because it is lovely and the garden is growing really well. There's lots of forageables out and it's just, when the weather's like this, everybody's just a bit happier, aren't they? And well, I know I am. Anyway, I am going to be preparing the food for tomorrow's foraging event and I thought I'd sort of bring you along with me and show you what I'm making. You have to excuse Angus, he's got his stilettos on again. He keeps forgetting to take his shoes off in the house. Anyway, let's get started. So I'm going to get started arse about face and make the dessert first so that it's out of the way. It does need a lot of cooling down time, so it's actually better that I get this done first. So the first thing I have, do you remember in the last video I was showing you those gorse flowers? So I've just been out and picked these. I have given my blood sacrifice to the gods while picking these flowers because it is armour plated. So these are going to go into the pan and there's about half a cup of gorse flowers. You know, they smell kind of coconutty and they give that pina colada sort of vibe. So what I'm doing today is I'm going to make a gorse flower and lemon balm sorbet. I had originally thought to make a gorse flower ice cream, I've seen that done, but then it kind of dawned on me that it's not very inclusive, or, well, ice cream, unless you're making it with like a nut milk, you know, it's not vegan friendly. Now I'm going to hold my hand up and say that I don't generally cater for vegans, but because this is an event for the general public, I have to kind of bear these things in mind. I also discovered that some celiacs have to be dairy free, and I was desperately looking for dairy free ice cream recipes, and it kind of struck me, look, you're overthinking this, let's make a sorbet. So that's what I'm doing. Now the next thing I have is some lemon balm leaves that I've just picked from the garden. I have a couple of really glorious lemon balm bushes out there that have come up beautifully after their winter dieback. And this is just, it's one of my favourite plants. You know, it's a member of the mint family. It's got that beautiful citrus smell to it, and it's got so many different medicinal benefits to it as well. You know, it's a nervine, so it's going to help calm you down. If you're feeling quite down, it can help lift your mood up. Makes a great insect repellent, and it's great for balancing hormones. It's a wonderful plant. I will go into this plant in more depth in the future, but yeah, one of my favourites. So that's going to go in. Next up, I've got a litre of water. That's going to go into the pot too. And finally, I have got 600 grams of golden caster sugar. Now I use golden caster sugar just because I like it. It lends a slightly more caramel taste to things, and it's a bit less processed, so I prefer it. By all means use plain white refined caster sugar if that's all you've got. That's going to go in the pot too. So now that we've got this all in the pot, I've got it on a low heat here, and we're just going to allow this to infuse and gently come up to a boil. And once it comes up to the boil, we're going to take it off the heat. So I'm just going to give this a bit of a stir to encourage the sugar to dissolve. And I know 600 grams of sugar is an awful lot. Yeah, I understand that, but that's how you make sorbet. You could use like stevia, but I'm not keen on the taste of stevia. I don't find it pleasant. And also it kind of helps it set a bit. Anyway, we will come back once this has gently come up to the boil. I've taken the gorse and lemon balm syrup off the heat now, and I've been out to the garden and cut some nettle tops. I'm going to blanch these for use in the next thing. I've come wearing rubber gloves because I really don't want to get stung. Oh goodness, I'm dropping nettles left, right and centre. Probably should have used a bigger pot, but anyway, we'll be grand. I'll grab a wooden spoon here, just to poke these down underneath. This is just going to get rid of the sting. Now it will be cooked again anyway, but this also helps to keep the vibrant colour. And it only needs to go in this hot water for about a minute. Nettles are really great to use instead of like spinach. They have got a really great iron content in them. And they're full of so many different vitamins and minerals, so they're a great thing to have in your diet. Now it's just the tops that I have cut. Oh, hello, there's a wee caterpillar in there. Sorry, I got distracted. Get rid of that. It is just the tops that I have used because that is where all the energy is in the plant, and so that's where all the nutrients are, is all the new growth. Once the nettles get past a certain stage, they start to become quite high in oxalates. So if you suffer from kidney stones or are sensitive to oxalic acids, then you know it's something to be wary of. But with the nettle tops, it's fine. I'm going to turn the heat off and go and grab a sieve and cool these down instantly in cold water. So I saw a recipe online for rhubarb and feta hand pies, and I thought it sounded absolutely amazing. As I read the comments sections, they were saying, yeah, you could use spinach, and that's what gave me the idea to use the nettles. So I am just chopping up this rhubarb here. I'll trim it off a bit. And this is going to roast in the oven for about 15 minutes. Now I'm preheating the oven. The recipe calls for it to be about 190, but because it's an American recipe, it's probably not for a fan oven, and my oven would run quite warm, so I'm setting it to about 175 degrees. If it takes a little bit longer for the rhubarb to cook, that's not a problem. And we just want to roughly chop this up, she says, into, I don't know, inch pieces. And I am loosely following this recipe. I'm also eyeballing some of it because I'm adding other things in, and if there's a bit of the mixture left over, then that's fine, that's no biggie. I will use that at another time. So that's the rhubarb all chopped up. I'm going to grab a baking sheet and I will put some baking parchment on this, only because I'm expecting liquid to come out of this rhubarb and it gets sticky. Everybody sort of assumes that rhubarb you have to put a lot of sugar with, but the beauty of this recipe is it's a savoury one, so it's going to be quite interesting. Now I have had like a rhubarb compote with mackerel, which is delicious. Not a combination that people think of very much, but it cuts beautifully through the oiliness and the richness of the fish. Just going to put a little bit of avocado oil on to help it roast. This is going to go in the oven for 15, maybe 20 minutes. Give this a wee sugar. Make sure everything's coated. Yeah, so I'm going to pop this in the oven and then we will come back and start on the next bit. Okay, so scratch what I said about no added sugar. I've just reread the recipe. It'll teach me for trying to not read the recipe 3 times. It actually calls for a bit of honey. So yes, there is a little bit of sweetness, but not as much as there would usually be. Now, because this is the raw honey from our hives, it's started to crystallize a little bit. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what honey will do naturally. So if you see honey do this, don't worry about it. It actually makes it easier to put into some recipes, but when it's like this, it can be a wee bit more difficult. So yeah, I'm gonna own up to my mistake there and not tell you the wrong thing. Love the taste of honey. And there we go, back in the oven. Next up, it calls for 2 small onions. And these just need to be finely sliced. I quite like these ones with the pinky skins. They're really lovely. I don't always get them. I tend to pick them up from my fruit and veg man when he has them in. They're great cooked or raw. They're actually quite punchy when they're raw. But it's nice to have that in salads or in dressings. The membrane stuck on there. Makes it very slippery to cut. Hang on, let's see if we can get that off. It just makes it dangerous to hold on to. Very slippery. Thankfully I have my contact lenses in, so no teary eyes for me. Once these are sliced up, we're going to go over and caramelise these so that they are lovely and sweet. And it's going to contrast with the saltiness of the feta. I'd never had cooked feta probably until last year, and the thought of it was like, ugh, no. But now it is just, it's one of my favourite things. It just adds a lovely tanginess to foods. I have heated up some butter in a frying pan and I'm going to add these sliced onions now. This is medium-ish heat. I might turn the heat down a little bit because we don't want any colour on these onions. I'm also going to add a wee sprinkle of salt. Not only for seasoning, but also because it helps to draw the moisture out of the onions and that stops them from burning, helps them to sweat down a lot more. I just need to keep this on a gentle heat for about 15 to 20 minutes and keep stirring it constantly so they don't catch until it's all beautiful and caramelised. Caramelised onions are just one of those things that, you know, you can eat and eat and eat and keep going back for more. It's got a really lovely, rich, almost meaty flavour to it, I would say. So I'm going to keep doing this, and by the time the onions are done, the rhubarb should also be finished. The onions have just finished caramelising and I've pulled the rhubarb out of the oven. Now, when I say I wish you could smell my kitchen, I really do mean that. The combination of the onions and the honey and rhubarb, the smell of it already is making my mouth water. I'm going to let these cool down a wee bit before we move on to the next step. I'm going to have a spot of lunch, so I will bring you back once these have cooled down. Everything's had a chance to cool down. I've had a chance to feed myself, so I can carry on. We're going to put the rhubarb and caramelised onion into a bowl so we can combine everything. Just the colour of that rhubarb is beautiful, isn't it? Every time I caramelise onions, I always say to myself, I really should have done more. And yeah, that's, you know, I really should have done more, but we'll see how it tastes anyway. I'm going to add in some lemon thyme. The recipe calls for thyme, but I don't know, I just prefer lemon thyme, the personal preference. I really enjoy sort of citrusy flavoured things. So how are the flies where you are? Because we live right next door to a really big dairy farm, the flies start up quite early, and the time has come to put the fly papers up. I hate the look of them, but my goodness, they work. So do you put those sticky fly papers up, or do you not have a problem with them this time of year? I'm just picking these leaves off, making sure that none of the stalk really goes in. Just adds a beautiful citrusy thyme flavour. I can hear a fly going bzzz, doing my head in. I'm gonna have to get some essential oils going in the diffuser, I think. Okay, we're going to add the nettles that we blanched earlier in. Now I have squeezed as much liquid out of them as I possibly can, and I've chopped it up too. This is certainly going to be very, very colourful. And still got that really vibrant irony smell of the nettles there. We're going to, if I can open the packet. Which way does this open? I'm going to add in the feta now, and I'm going to put the whole 200 gram block in. I've doubled this recipe just because I'm making it for an event, and we've not had numbers confirmed fully yet, so I need to make enough that if we are fully booked, that we can feed everybody. So we'll just go crumbly, crumbly, crumble. A quick wash of the hands. A little bit of salt and pepper in, not too much salt because the feta will be quite salty, and a bit of pepper. Stir this all up. That's going to break up some of those larger chunks of feta as well. It smells divine. wee spoon here, so I'm going to grab a little mouthful to see how this all tastes. Oh, that's beautiful. That is really nice. That's going to be divine. I've got a pack of Filo pastry here that I defrosted, and the recipe that I'm using calls for puff pastry, but I think this, using the Filo pastry, just makes it, don't know, a little bit more summery, just a little bit lighter as well. I'm going to unroll this very, very carefully. Oh my word, this is so delicate. Don't use Filo pastry very often, but it does give just the nicest, lightest texture and a really, really good crunch as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this in half lengthways. It's not going all the way through. And then the half that I'm not using, I'm going to keep wrapped up in a damp tea towel. And this just means that it will be easier to work with. So I'll pop that down here. Get that. Unfold this. And then we shall grab a sheet. Not grab a granny, grab a sheet. I'll take a little bit and just put it there. Then we need to brush this with butter. I'll just fold this over to start with. Manoeuvre this a bit better. Can you tell it's been a while since I worked with pastry? And then we'll smooth that down. Brush this with butter. And then fold this down. And it's almost like a samosa really. And then just the last little bit, more butter. And there we have it. That's our first one made. I'm going to come back to you once I've finished making all these, because you'll probably get quite bored watching me do the same thing over and over again. That is all the parcels made up. So these are going to go into the oven. I've preheated the oven to 180 degrees. I had a look at the instructions on the pastry packet, and I would say these will probably take about 15 or 20 minutes until they're ready. So these are the finished feta, rhubarb and nettle hand pies, or Filo parcels. I've got them all packed up ready to go to the event tomorrow. They're nice and cool. I did have to do a wee taste test because, you know, it would be rude not to. This is what they look like, and I know it doesn't look very appetising. It looks quite mushy, but let me tell you, it is tangy and delicious. I am really, really pleased with that. I will be putting the recipe up on the website at some point soon. The website is down just now. I'm not able to upload any recipes, but it is hopefully getting fixed shortly. So I will be uploading this recipe because it's definitely a keeper and it is really lovely seasonal food to have. The Gorse and lemon balm sorbet syrup is well and truly cooled down now. I've removed the lemon balm leaves and I'm just going to put the juice of 1 lemon in. And then I'm going to pop this in the fridge for half an hour to an hour before I put this in the ice cream machine. Now you don't need an ice cream machine, but it does make it a lot easier to make your ice creams and sorbets if you do have one. So I've got the ice cream maker all set up on the KitchenAid. I am beyond delighted. This was a surprise gift from a friend of mine who was helping a different friend, clean out their garage. I got a message saying, "You have a KitchenAid, right, don't you?" I'm like, "Yep." Like, "You want that?" I'm like, "Yes, please." And so this weekend just gone, we went to pick it up, and I am so excited to use this. So this is its maiden voyage. Now I've put the sorbet syrup just into a jug for ease of pouring, and there's just under 1200 mils. I'm going to put this on a slow speed to mix, and it's going to churn for 20 to 30 minutes, and then we'll come back and see where we're at. Let's see what this tastes like. So it's very subtle, kind of lemon balm, and then slight coconutty aftertaste there. That's going to be beautiful when it is fully set and frozen. So we are here at the event and I have the sorbet. It is a scorcher today, so unfortunately it has started to melt a little bit, but we're going to serve it up anyway. So we'll see how we get on. So, as you can see, it is very, very soft. I had hoped that by putting the two litre bottles of frozen water in the chilli bin with the sorbet that it would have kept it frozen, but it just wasn't meant to be. It was an absolute scorcher on this day, and I mean we were rather warm, but it's not a disaster. I'm not calling it a disaster because it was absolutely delicious and everybody enjoyed it. And some of this that had melted got taken home to be mixed with Prosecco to make a rather delicious cocktail. I want to thank you so much for joining me this week, and if you have enjoyed this video, I'd be most grateful if you would hit the like and subscribe button. Until next time, my lovelies, take care of yourselves and happy cooking.